it's good to be selfish for your people, not to your people. Because very, very often we are too selfish to our people, not for our people. We as black people, it's not bad to fight for other people.
Yes.
But probably the problem is that we prioritize other people more.
Definitely.
Because I assure you one thing. You see now with the ceasefire that we're going to talk about, let's say everything is good and the Palestine war is over. They have their independence. Israel is not meddling into their stuff. Will the same Africans now turn the attention to Congo, to DRC, and to Somalia, and to northern Nigeria, Boko Haram, to Libya? I don't think so.
Yes.
And now that's where the problem is. The prioritization of our problem. It's not that fighting for other people is bad. It's just that we prioritize other people more than us. Like the plate of Africa, when it comes to problems, is overflowing.
So I think Africans, we need to have an international approach to these things, because we don't have an international approach to these things. When it's our turn and we need solidarity, there's going to be nobody to stand with us. But I'll end on this point. You are right. Activists need to do more. Africans need to do more. And I would be lying if I didn't say, when I saw the protest in Kenya, it didn't bother me a little bit, emotionally, but I'd be lying if I said the protest in Niger for Palestine, it didn't bother me a little bit emotionally. But then rationally, I will say this, I don't think it's as simple as race. So when we start this kind of insular, we're on our own, it doesn't benefit us. I get where it comes from. It comes from us having such bad relations with outsiders in recent history. Yeah? But like I'd say to somebody who's in an abusive relationship with a spouse, if you had an abusive girlfriend, you don't say, I'm not dating again. Yeah? But yeah, we talked off camera. I'm going to bring it up on camera.
Yeah.
I saw a video that you did the other day.
Yeah.
And I understood what you were saying. 100% I understood what you're saying. Because I share those sentiments, especially as a Sudanese person, that Sudan isn't talked about enough. Congo isn't talked about enough. And yet people that call themselves activists just talk about, Ukraine, Palestine, other places. And it's frustrating. I shared a story on my Instagram where I went to Parkland's Mosque and I went to pray. And the Imam said, we're going to plant some trees for Palestine. I want everyone to pray for Palestine. And obviously it bothered me because Sudan, when it was one country, used to share a border with Kenya.
Yes.
Just here, Kenya is involved in the conflict in Sudan.
Oh.
Yeah, Kenya is involved. Ruto, through illicit gold smuggling, is using Kenya as a transit to get gold to the U.A.E, to Dubai, which is backing the genocidal RSF militia. Kenya also hosted the RSF's conference here, where they formed a fake parallel government. So Kenya is deeply, deeply involved. So Kenyans should be also deeply involved in standing up for what's going on in Sudan and advocating for Sudan. So I get your point. The only thing that I disagree with is you said it has nothing to do with Africans. It has a lot to do with Africans. Yeah? So the previous administration in Kenya, the Uhuru Kenyatta administration.
By the way, people don't know what we're talking about.
Sure.
What Ahmed is talking about is in Pan-African Lifestyle. There's a video that was posted where I said that we as Africans should mind our own business, and that we have so much on our plate that we shouldn't waste our time fighting for Palestinians. So that's what he's saying. I'll do a rebuttal, but let's first hear what Ahmed has to say.
Sure. So the previous administration for William Ruto was Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah.
He signed a trade agreement with Donald Trump during his first term. And in that trade agreement, one of the stipulations was Kenya cannot participate in any form of boycotts, divestments, or sanctions with regard to Israel. Yeah?
Really?
Yes, yes, I can share the document with you. So that shows one thing and one thing only. Israel is part of the US project. Yeah?
Mhm.
Because what would the trade agreement between two sovereign nations have anything to do with Israel? Yeah? They use Israel as a test. How subservient will you be to us? Yeah? So if you will accept that in the trade agreement, then you're a good puppy that will accept anything that we tell you to do. Yeah?
Mhm.
When Sudan, before the war, Sudan was forced to normalize relations with Israel. And only if we normalize relations with Israel would the US lift the state sponsor terror designation. Again, Israel had nothing to do with the state sponsored terror designation being put on Sudan. So why should it be the condition to have it lifted? Yeah. Morocco, when it normalized relations with Israel, that was a condition to get the US to recognize Morocco's claim to Western Sahara. Yeah. So the US is part of the US. Sorry, Israel's part of the US imperialist project. It's used to test how subservient any nation will be. Yeah, that's number one. Number two, they were instrumental in the oppression of Africans. So while there was a boycott, divestment and sanctions against apartheid South Africa, one of the only countries to continue doing trade with apartheid South Africa was Israel. Yeah, continue to supply weapons, continue trade agreements, was supportive of the whole project. Yeah, former apartheid South African president went to Israel on several trips. There was bilateral agreements, etc. Yeah. The Palestinian Liberation Organization were training with the African National Congress in Tunisia. Yeah. Nelson Mandela said that our liberation is incomplete without the liberation of Palestine, because they saw it as one of the same thing. The apartheid South Africa project was formed in 1948. Israel was formed in 1948. Yeah. Israel enacted an apartheid Israel enacted apartheid in Israel that mirrored the apartheid in South Africa. So these things are deeply, deeply connected. Israel's involved in the conflict in Sudan. Yeah. Israel was involved in weakening the brief transitional government in Sudan. So during the transitional stage, the civilian government said, we're not going to normalize relations with Israel. That should be a decision taken by an elected government, not by a transitional one. Then when the US said, okay, we're not going to offer you any loans, we're not going to give you any IMF loan, we're going to keep the state sponsor of terror designation, which means that you won't have to access finance from anyone else. The transitional government had to submit, yeah? And when it submitted, it made the military stronger, because the people of Sudan are like, what? This transitional civilian government, they say one thing one day, they say something different the other day. So it is deeply, deeply involved in the oppression of Africans, not to mention the anti-African migrant protest in Israel. Yeah? Sudanese go home. Sudanese go home. There's so many Sudanese refugees that were in Israel. There were protests all the time. The forced sterilization of Ethiopian women in Israel. Yeah? So they sterilized Ethiopian women against their consent to make sure that they couldn't have babies, because they want this Jewish-only state to be a white Jewish-only state. Yeah? So there's so many examples. This deportation deal that they did with Rwanda. So you know the UK tried to sign a deportation deal with Rwanda, where any people that were seeking asylum in the UK would go to Rwanda. Yeah? You know they got that deal from Israel. So Israel was the first to sign that deal. So Israel was sending people, Africans, because they don't want Africans there, to Rwanda. They would be, as soon as they got to Rwanda's government would basically let them go. They would then try the perilous journey back through the Sahara, and this time they'll try to go through to Europe. Yeah. So that terrible deal, the UK thought, oh, that's a great deal, and tried to mirror it. Yeah. But because there was a change in government, because there was an election, and the Labour Party came, the deal got cancelled. So as Africans, we have a long history of standing with oppressed people because we realize what they're doing to them, they're either doing to us simultaneously or one day they'll do to us. Yeah? And we've benefited greatly from solidarity. So South Africa today wouldn't be free if it wasn't for Cuba sending over 40,000 troops to Angola to battle the apartheid regime. So when we start this kind of insular, we're on our own, it doesn't benefit us. I get where it comes from. It comes from us having such bad relations with outsiders in recent history. Yeah? But like I'd say to somebody who's in an abusive relationship with a spouse, if you had an abusive girlfriend, you don't say, I'm not dating again. Yeah?
Yeah.
You with me? Before we had contact with the Europeans, we had trade deals with the Indians. We had trade deals with the Chinese. There's evidence that Mansa Musa's brother traveled to the Americas. Yeah? It's not documented because he didn't do what Christopher Columbus did and slaughtered everybody. Yeah? He most likely just integrated, mixed with the local population, and that was the end of that chapter of history. But because there was no mass genocide, because there was no smallpox, because there was no giving the indigenous population blankets covered with smallpox, the history isn't documented in the same way. So I think Africans, we need to have an international approach to these things because we don't have an international approach to these things. When it's our turn and we need solidarity, there's going to be nobody to stand with us. But I'll end on this point. You are right. Activists need to do more. Africans need to do more. And I would be lying if I didn't say, when I saw the protest in Kenya, it didn't bother me a little bit, emotionally, but I'd be lying if I said the protest in Niger for Palestine, it didn't bother me a little bit emotionally. But then rationally, I will say this, I don't think it's as simple as race. I'll tell you why. I used to work with George Galloway, who's been involved in the Palestine struggle for a long time. Yeah, he told me in the 70s and 80s he could fit the people that stood with Palestine in a small room. Yeah, it was really difficult. So from 1948 to 1980, there wasn't this huge protest. Yeah, back then people were more concerned with what was going on in South Africa because South Africa was more easily understood. White people setting dogs on black people, that is bad. We want to oppose that. Yeah, you're forgetting that. I don't know if you're forgetting, but people might forget. Wembley Stadium was full of people doing a concert for Nelson Mandela, the Free Nelson Mandela concert. Yeah, there were protests happening in every major capital city for South Africa who are black, South Africans who are black. Yeah, because that was easily understandable. The Palestine thing at that time was seen as complicated. This is a religious thing. I don't want to get involved in this. This is religious. You know what they say now? This is Jews versus Muslim. This has been going on for thousands of years. I'm not going to get involved. It's only after, the liberation of apartheid South Africa that we started to see the Palestine cause gain prominence. Yeah. So and that has to be accredited to the Palestinian people themselves. They were lobbying, they were speaking to politicians, they were speaking to activists. Decades of work to get this cause to where it is now. Yeah? Sudan, the conflict started 2023, April 2023. Yeah? We haven't had the time to lobby in the same way. Yeah? I do think there's an element of what you're saying is true, but I just don't think it's totally true. Congo is more prominent than Sudan. Why? Because Congo's been going on
for decades,
longer than Sudan, but it's not as prominent as Palestine because Congo hasn't been going on as long as Palestine. I don't think it's only that. I do think there's a racial element. I'm just not saying it's only race. Yeah. Let's not forget, Yemen was one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, and nobody was talking about it. They're Arabs. Yeah. When the British and the Americans were arming, funding, and supporting Saudi Arabia to kill children in Yemen, nobody was talking about it. And the Yemeni people were saying, why do you guys not talk about what's going on here, but you talk about what's going on in Palestine? So I just don't think it's simply race, because if it was simply race, then Yemen would have got just as much prominence as Palestine. Yeah.
Okay, now here's the thing. Here's why I was saying it. Africa, we have so much on our plate. And so number one, we have Sudan. which I mean you're of Sudanese origin. We have Somalia. We share a border with Somalia, and then DRC. We're in the same East African Commission with DRC. What triggered me? The reason why I made that video is because the same Kenyans don't put the same intensity on Sudan, on Somalia, and on DRC. And then the same Kenyans are the ones who are going to, well, not them, but I was also angered when I saw Kenyans doing a church service for Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Look, we as Black people, it's not bad to fight for other people.
Yes.
But probably the problem is that we prioritize other people more.
Definitely.
Because I assure you one thing. You see now with the ceasefire that we're going to talk about, let's say everything is good and the Palestine war is over. They have the independence. Israel is not meddling into their stuff. Will the same Africans now turn the attention to Congo, to DRC, and to Somalia, and to northern Nigeria, Boko Haram, to Libya? I don't think so.
Yes.
And now that's where the problem is. The prioritization of our problems. It's not that fighting for other people is bad. It's just that we prioritize other people more than us. Like the plate of Africa, when it comes to problems, is overflowing. Like even the Sudan issue is just overflowing. And we haven't even talked about DRC. We haven't talked about Somalia. And all those problems that we have in Africa have Western influence in them. And we're going to talk about them. So basically, my thing is that let's solve our problems first. You see, like the way Africans are rallying for Palestinians. What if we use that? What if we could have used that strength and that energy to fight for Sudan, DRC, and Somalia? Probably one of them, or two of them, or probably even three of them would have, probably even one of them could have been over. Probably Somalia probably could have been over by now, or Congo, or Sudan. But you see these African presidents like Ramaphosa going out and fighting for them. I don't see that. I don't see Ramaphosa going out for Congo and Somalia and Sudan. All these presidents making speech in the AU and in the UN about Palestine, and I'm like, there's no problem. But how about you guys are the presidents of Africa? Like that's why we even talked about it the other day. I was so disgusted when the same African presidents didn't, they didn't broker peace between DRC and Rwanda. But they are so hell-bent to this Ukraine issue, to this Palestine issue. And I'm like, guys, charity begins at home. Let's solve home first. Then we can, because one thing about us Africans is that, and Black people in general, globally, we have this thing where we take care of other people and we don't take care of ourselves. Even Black Americans. I remember during the George Floyd protest, I was really observant because everybody was at home. I was just stuck at home. When George Floyd was murdered in March or April, if I'm not wrong, the Black Lives Matter protests started happening. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of 2020, it was Women's Lives Matter. Then it was LGBT. Then it was feminism. Then it was people started,
but none of them were as big as Black. None of them was as big as Black.
None of them was big as Black. But you could see the branching. Everybody wanted to be represented now. They were riding off of the protests of Black people. So basically, like what I'm trying to say is that as a Pan-African, I know people have told me that you're too hard into this Pan-Africanism stuff. And it's true, I'm too hard because I just want us to focus on our issues. I think our problem with Black people is we don't focus. Let's just sit down and say, wait. Before we focus on Latinos, before we focus on Arabs, on Indians, on any other ethnicity, why don't we just sit down and focus on our African issue? Same thing with Black Americans. Before you sit down and focus on Latinos and on Arabs who are in America and on Asians, you remember the Asian hate crime bill that Biden signed?
Yeah.
And so to me the problem is, let's just focus on our issue. It's not bad to, but I'm not saying that what's happening in Palestine is good. I didn't say that.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's horrible. And Israel is a bully. They've been a bully for a while. Together with the West, the Europe and America. They've been bullies, and everything they've touched has turned to dust. And yes, we share a common enemy, which because I know Israel is deep into DRC with Dan Gutler and Glencoe and everything.
Exactly.
But how about this? Fine, if we have to fight Israel, let's fight Israel using our problems.
From the Congo angle.
Yeah, from the Congo angle. Let's not, because it's just, I even said it in the video, it's good to be selfish for your people, not to your people. Because very, very often, we are too selfish to our people, not for
our people. Yeah.
So basically, that's just my angle, Ahmed.
Fair enough.
That's just my angle.
I don't disagree with everything you said. The only thing I'll say is, in regards to Ramaphosa, you know how many South African soldiers have died in Congo as part of the peacekeeping mission? So the Congo, I agree with the rest of the examples, but I think Congo is a little unfair because so many South Africans have given their life for Congo. But you're right with your very examples, 100%. In the middle of our conflict, Ramaphosa hosted in the middle of when South Africa's taking the case to the ICJ, Ramaphosa met with General Hemedti, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, the genocidal general that is killing our people in Sudan.
You met with Hemedti?
Yes, he met with him as if he was some sort of legitimate leader. So, I've got no love for Ramaphosa. And I feel like, to be honest, he's using the Palestinian cause to mask over the deep, deep grievances that Black South Africans have with the lack of progress 30 years after apartheid. The fact that they're still landless, the fact that the wealth disparity hasn't closed, the fact there's so many, there's a disproportion of white managers in a Black majority country. All of these things, he's just trying to distract people by being the hero on the international stage. So I agree with you. But African presidents will always be opportunists. If there's no Palestine cause, they'll use something else. They'll use something else.
Yeah.
And you're right about agendas being hijacked. 100%. The UK started a Black Lives Matter branch, and I don't mean to offend people because I know, some of the people from the Black Lives Matter UK branch follow me and shared African Stream stuff. But we have to be honest. Their first action for Black Lives Matter in the UK was they put concrete on their arms and went to a runway, and they said, Black people are disproportionately affected by climate change. To me, that's trying to shift the agenda away, 100%. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's elements of the intelligence community that infiltrate these groups precisely for that reason. To move the agenda away. Climate change is important.
It is.
Climate change is important. But also, let's be honest, climate change is weaponized against African countries.
Oh, yes.
They try to stop our development, even though we contribute the smallest in terms of carbon emissions. We have the U.A.E. buying 10% of Liberia's rainforest for carbon credits, buying parts of Kenya, buying parts of DRC, using it to offset how much the U.A.E. pollutes the world. So to me, it's like that agenda didn't come from Black people. That agenda came from white liberals. They infiltrated the Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah. So I agree with what you're saying. However, if we follow, let's say we make you the leader of the movement, and you'd be a great leader, and we followed this step. The problem is the inverse happens as well. So if we say we're not standing with anyone else, when would people stand with us? Yeah, and people have stood with us. So when the Niger Coup happened, people all over the world, non-Africans, some before Africans, were saying this is a great thing, doing videos about the French's exploitation of Niger. The French exploitation of the uranium in Niger. So many. My comrade Ben Norton, who lives in China right now, did a fantastic 15, 20-minute deep dive into how France has been exploiting Niger and what's led to the people rising up. So we can't have it all one way. We can't have non-Africans stand with us, but when it's our time to stand with them, we focus on our own issues. Yeah. So I would just say it's strategically not the best approach. Yeah, because again, the anti-apartheid struggle, of course, so many African countries stood. Somalia stood. Zimbabwe stood. Tanzania stood. Zambia hosted so many exile fighters. So Africa stood, but so did the rest of the world. Yeah? So did the rest of the world. We can't forget that. We can't have it all. We don't stand with anybody because then people aren't going to stand with us. Yeah? But I do agree, especially as a Muslim, I'm going to call, the hypocrisy is staggering. Staggering. There was a Sudanese sister that I follow. I won't mention her name. Someone reached out to her, Muslim charity, and said, "You've got a big profile. We like your profile. Would you like to do some videos on these topics?" All these Muslim countries were mentioned. Sudan wasn't mentioned. She responded to them and said, "Sudan is the world's worst humanitarian crisis." She mentioned, "We have over 6 million people at stage 5 famine. Yeah, we have over 20 million people facing acute hunger. It's the worst statistics everywhere you look. We have this many people displaced. Yet you haven't put Sudan on your list. Why?" She goes, "It's just not on our list now, but it's something that we." So she said, "This screams of anti-black racism." Yeah, and I'm happy to talk about the anti-black racism in the Muslim world because it exists.
Trust me.
100% it exists.
Trust me.
Anybody that doesn't say it doesn't exist is in denial. And denial isn't just a river that runs through Egypt. Yeah. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. So, the excuse people use is, "I don't know much about Sudan, so I can't talk about it." I think that's fair enough, yeah, to not talk about it. But how come the Imam can't say, pray for Sudan? People are suffering. You don't need to know much to say, pray.
Just say pray.
Just say pray. When you say, we're going to plant some trees for Gaza, say, and Sudan. We're going to plant some trees for Gaza, and Sudan and Somalia. It's very easy. So there's definitely anti-black racism. Now, with the rest of the world, I think it's more complicated. People like things, good guys versus bad guys, easy things to understand. These European settler colonial projects in Israel oppressing brown people in Palestine. It's easy to look at that and say, this is bad, yeah? Had General Hemedti been a European general, everyone would be talking about Sudan, yeah? Because it's two Sudanese people, because it's a bit more complicated to people outside. It's not complicated to me, because General Hemedti is just a puppet who's fighting on behalf of this Gulf monarchy called the United Arab Emirates. So it's simple to me and simple to people to understand. But for someone that's trying to figure out, they see two Sudanese generals fighting, yeah? Yeah. Congo, almost the same, although the Congolese have got better at explaining it than to the rest of the world. So the Congolese, they go, Rwanda are in Congo, but they're in there. They believe what Kagame says. They're in there because there's this Hutu genocidal group that are trying to invade Congo. I'm going to stay out. That's complicated. Yeah? Okay. You with me? Okay. It's just not as easy to jump in. Now, what I've got to salute the Congolese for, they've been very good in recent years of explaining the international dynamic. Sudanese people were getting there. So now they're saying, Kagame is just a middleman. This isn't about Kagame. He's acting on behalf of Western capitalist interests and Western powers. The iPhone I've got there, the materials used for the iPhone come from the Congo. The reason why they get the materials so cheap is because the Congo is destabilized, so they can pay a child $2 a day to go into a mine. So now people are understanding this more. We saw in London when the iPhone 17 Pro was released, big protests outside Apple. For years, we never saw that. You with me? So I think it's more to do. I see it's more to do with how easy is it for somebody that doesn't know anything about it. How easy is it for me to jump in and give my opinion? If it's complicated, nobody wants to be like shamed in the comments. You don't know what you're talking about. So I like to jump into things that are really easy to understand. Yeah. The same in Yemen. The reason why people didn't talk about Yemen is we have Arabs from Saudi Arabia attacking Arabs in Yemen. They didn't understand the international dimension. That Saudi Arabia has no independent foreign policy. It doesn't jump unless the British and the US tell them how high and how many times. So only after years, when we explain that the US and the UK are behind the Saudi bombardment of Yemen, the people started to get on board. But at the beginning, I remember being in London trying to advocate what's going on. No one was interested because it wasn't easy to understand. So I'll say it's more to do with how complex an issue is and race. Yeah, I'm not going to dispute that race plays a matter.
Yeah,
because there's anti-black racism in the white community. There's anti-black racism in the Muslim community. There's anti-black racism in the Indian community. There's anti-black racism everywhere. If we deny that, we're denying the truth. Yeah, it is something that needs to be called out, but I don't think it describes the whole story. That's all.
By the way, you mentioned about racism in the Arab world.
Yeah.
I don't, but I think you know this.
Yeah.
A lot of Kenyans work in Saudi Arabia, U.A.E, and Qatar, as you know, they do this domestic work. Especially many women who work in the Arab world do domestic work. You know, housekeeping, household jobs, and I'm telling you, the killings that are going on, I think there was a year where the number was 65 Kenyans dead in Saudi. I haven't even touched Dubai and Qatar.
Atrocious.
It's crazy, and it's mainly East Africans.
Yeah.
Kenyans,
Ethiopians. There was a video of an Ethiopian sister. She was hanging off a building because she was trying to get away from.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
There was a video. I believe it was. I can't remember if it was Libya or one of these Gulf states, where the woman put her phone down and videoed it. Yeah, so she was doing the washing. She was trying to wash some clothes. This old Arab guy comes and he's trying to grab her, and she's like, "Please stop!" And he's grabbing her, and he's like, "Please stop!" And then he just grabs her and takes her off camera. So this is atrocious, and it needs to be called out. And Africans, let's stop going to these places on holiday. I hate with a passion when I see one of my Nigerian brothers living it up in the U.A.E, in Dubai. Do you know what I'm saying? Having his best time with no regard for how our people are treated there. Yeah. I went there a couple of years ago because I had to for a family obligation.
Okay.
Yeah. So many Sudanese people are in the U.A.E.
Yeah.
I vowed to never go back.
Really?
Yeah?
Why?
It's just a horrible. It's a horrible place. Before you get out the airport, there's racism. Yeah. I'm in the coffee shop. I'm standing in the queue. Some Arab guy walks straight past me to stand in front of me. Yeah. I go, bro, what the hell do you think you're doing? Yeah. He straight away realized, okay, this guy is not here to work in a domestic household. I can't do this to him. Do you know what I'm saying? Because people, I'm not trying to discredit the people that go work in a domestic household, but because they're desperate to be there, they're gonna take all sorts of abuse. Yeah. I was happy to leave. I was happy to get into it with this Arab guy there in the airport and fly back immediately. I went with the games. But I'm just trying to say it was a horrible place. Then, as I'm leaving the airport, they do the random search of your bags. Yeah, they go you. As I'm standing there, as they put in all of the bags on the counter, I look around. Every single person around me is African. So every single random search happens to be African. You with me? So this is a place that has bought its legitimacy. Whenever we talk about the U.A.E, no one talks about it as a dictatorship. You notice that?
Yeah.
They always talk about the dictatorship in Uganda. Yeah. Cameroon. Elsewhere. You never ever talk about Saudi Arabia. Have you ever heard them say the dictatorship of Saudi Arabia? The dictatorship of the U.A.E. Yeah, the dictatorship of the U.A.E. They've bought the silence of the West. Yeah, they've bought the silence of so many of these so-called human rights organizations. Yeah, they do reports. Of course, they do report, but they do reports as a box-ticking exercise. They don't really push it. We don't need to stand with our people at the expense of others, but we need to stand with our people. Like really stand with our people. Yeah, Nobody should be going to the U.A.E. Nobody should be investing. African people, if you care about Sudanese people, shouldn't be investing in the U.A.E. If you care about the Kenyan migrants, if you care about the Ethiopian migrants, the women that are routinely sexually abused and they can't do anything because their employer has their passport, yeah? And even if they didn't have their passport, if they go to the Saudi authorities, the U.A.E. authorities, they're not going to do anything because it's a national versus someone that has no rights. That's what these U.A.E. countries do. You can be working there for 30 years. You're never allowed citizenship. You're never allowed any sort of rights, yeah? As soon as you retire, you have to leave, yeah? As soon as you're out of work, you have to leave. So these places are terrible, terrible places. But because they're cozy with the West, it doesn't get the media attention. We need to give it the attention.
We need to give it the attention.
And start advocating against, divesting from these places, going on holiday from these places, posts on Instagram, all of this type of stuff. It's sickening.
But the problem with Kenyans, a lot of Kenyans who go to Saudi and U.A.E. and Qatar is unemployed Kenyans.
Yeah, of course.
And they're going there to seek employment. Now the problem is, even with the Qatar stadiums for the World Cup, a lot of people died making those stadiums because of poor safety, conditions, and so. And I'm telling you, this if I'm president, I would stop the people going to the Arabian countries for work, for visit fine. You can go tour and all that, but for work, no. And now because of this U.A.E. thing, I think I would stop the tour as well.
Yeah.
And I think African countries should take a stand and say, no, you guys cannot do this to Sudan. So let's do our part in trying to cripple your economy, because I know a lot of the economy comes from tourism.
Yeah. And the economy would collapse without workforce. The Emiratis don't work. They're like 5-10% of the population. Everyone else is migrants. Yeah, migrants, or if they come from Europe, what do they call them? Expats. Yeah.
Expats.
But they're all migrants. It's all migrants. And so their economy couldn't survive without people going there to work. But we take so much disrespect. The U.A.E. temporarily blocked Nigerian visitors. Yeah. When they lifted the ban, Nigerians were like, yeah, the ban's lifted, and they went back. Where's the self-respect?
There's no code in the Black community.
Yeah.
There's no code of conduct. And we need to have that.
Yeah.
We need to have a code of conduct, because every other race, even Italians even the mafia had a code of conduct. There's no killing women and children. And, and Arabs have a code of conduct. Even white people, some white communities have, but Black people don't have a code of, we are just free to do anything, whether it's detrimental or not to our people. And it's crazy.
But that will come when we build up the continent. Yeah. So you said you'd ban people going there to work, which is great.
Yeah.
But the best way to do it, so we don't have any bans, create jobs here in Kenya.
Exactly.
The lack of jobs here in
Build
Kenya
your economy.
are leading to the exploitation
Exactly.
of people in Kenya going abroad, fighting in wars that have nothing to do with them, going to the U.A.E., being abused as domestic help. If we build jobs, like real jobs where people can live with dignity and respect, they won't need to do this.
They won't need to go to Dubai.
They won't need to go to these places. And we can only do that when we unite with other African countries. And then we have a code of conduct, continental-wise. Yeah? So you can't strike these deals that you strike in Chad, these deals that you used to strike in Niger, these deals that you're striking now in the RSF parts that are occupied in Sudan.
The southwestern parts.
Yeah. This wouldn't able to happen if we had a continental, unified approach. Give us a seat on the security. All of these talks at the UN. We need a seat at the UN Security Council. It's great, but it's pointless. Yeah?
Yeah, because...
Assata Shakur, revolutionary elder, rest in peace, that died, she said it best. People have never gotten anything by appealing to the moral consciousness of the oppressor. Yeah, you don't get anything from asking. You get something by demanding. Yeah. So saying we want a seat at the UN Security Council when there's no conditions attached to it is pointless. Imagine 54 African countries, 55 if you include Western Sahara. If they said, seat at the UN Security Council or trade deals are cancelled. Yeah? You with me? Seat at the UN Security Council or we're leaving the UN General Assembly en masse. Demand, don't ask. Don't ask. Yeah?
Demand.
If you work for an employer, do you politely ask for your wages? No, you don't. You say, give me my wages. Give me my wages or we're taking your ass to court. Yeah? And I'm suing you for wages plus interest plus distress.
I like that.
Yeah? No, stop. We need to stop asking. Again, this is all performative crap. Yeah?
Yeah, it's true.
It's a good way. In the age of social media, you make a nice speech. It gets posted all over the pages. When people see you on the street, they go, I liked your speech. But we need to get past that. We need to get past performative politics and get to real politics. Yeah? The same with reparations. The CARICOM, which is the English-speaking countries in the Caribbean, they give a 10-point plan for reparations. Yeah? When David Cameron visited Jamaica, I think it was in 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
Former PM, yeah?
The former British Prime Minister. The Jamaican Prime Minister tried to hand him a document, a folder actually, stating why Britain owes Jamaica reparations. He refused to even take it. What would me and you have done in that situation? If we're showing that disrespect while the cameras are on, what would you have done?
Oh, trust me. You know what? You know. I could have gone crazy.
I would have done. I would have gone, trip cancelled.
Yeah.
Okay, you've just arrived. Get on a plane back to the UK. Yeah,
immediately.
It's too nice.
Get out.
I'm trying to get. I'm not head of state because technically, at the time the Queen was still the head of the state. Right now, the King is still the head of state of Jamaica.
Yeah, but why,
which is a whole nother.
We will talk.
We'll talk about it.
It's crazy.
But the highest politician in the land is trying to hand the highest politician of the UK a document, and he refuses to take it.
Is there a video for that?
Yeah, there's a video for that. You can post it as a B-roll.
I'll post it.
Disrespect.
Wow.
We need to stop pleading and asking and start throwing around our weight. That's the only way to get stuff done. Yeah? That's the only way to get stuff done.
Closing on this Israel-Palestine topic, what do you think about the ceasefire now that's been proposed by Trump? You think it's working?
Yeah, I think it's. I understand why Hamas and the other groups signed it because it was a literally life or death situation, and people are dying, people are starving. They needed to do something. Yeah, so there's not a criticism of them signing the deal, but I worry that the deal was literally just about taking the remaining Israeli hostages out of Gaza and then finishing the job off. So right now the Israelis are using the excuse. So part of the ceasefire deal was you need to because the Israeli hostages that died because Israel was bombing from the sky. Yeah. The bombs from the sky don't discriminate. So when they're bombing from the sky and so many hundreds of thousands, according to the UN Special Rapporteur, up to 680,000 people have been killed. That's an estimate, of course, because we don't know. So many people are still buried through the rubble. Within that, Israeli hostages were killed. And Gaza is going to take years, maybe decades, to get some of these people out of the rubble unless there's a huge international effort. So the Israelis have said, you need to return the dead bodies of the hostages within X amount of time. It's impossible to do that. Yeah, when they're buried under the rubble.
Yeah,
people have lost family members.
Yeah,
so they're going to use this as a pretext. I hope I'm wrong to start the bombing again. We've already saw ceasefire violations. Yeah, as a ceasefire was called, they killed what was one of the most prominent alive Palestinian journalists. Yeah, they used an armed gang which Netanyahu backs and funds. So, yeah, I think, unfortunately, there was a small pause as they retrieved the rest of the Israeli hostages that were alive out of Gaza, and now they're gonna resume again. But I pray that I'm wrong.
Bibi, you think he should be, jailed by the ICC when all this is over? I know how this game works.
Yeah.
ICC. By the I'm doing a documentary on ICC and on
The
how,
International Caucasian Court.
Yeah, let me tell you, every single person that has been jailed for genocide and war crimes are Africans.
Yeah.
You think? I mean,
It's ridiculous. It was Gaddafi that used the term International Caucasian Court.
he said that.
Yeah. And he's
But
right.
what do you think? Bibi will be?
Of course not. Of course not. When you get into international law, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter about power. It's all a question of power. Yeah. The powerful are exempt. The powerless are the ones, as you've mentioned, that are tried. I also think, I might be wrong, I think Milosevic from Yugoslavia was also tried under the ICC, but I need to check that up. But again, it's because Yugoslavia has no power.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not going to be, sadly, unless I'm not advocating for this in case any police are watching, unless a rogue person goes up to him and shoots him, which I'm not advocating for the sake of any police that are watching.
Yeah.
He'll probably, unless he dies of like a heart attack early, he'll probably die a wealthy, powerful man. Nothing will happen to him because he's got the protection of the largest empire,
But that's
the
unfair.
most powerful. Of course it's unfair. Nothing's fair. Nothing's fair.
Something needs to happen with it to him.
Of course.
He can't just kill all these people and he goes scot-free.
Yeah.
Something has to happen.
I mean, if there's a global revolution from now to then, something will happen. But as the international order is the way it is, as the US is the world superpower, as NATO is the world super organization that dictates how things are run, nothing's going to happen to him. Nothing's going to happen to him. They issued sanctions, some of these EU and UK and stuff like that, but it's symbolic. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of his assets are in Israel. All of his assets are in Israel. It doesn't affect him. It's just so next time they go after one of us, they can have some legitimacy. It's all theatre and games. Yeah. Nothing's going to happen to him, sadly.
Well, well, you know what? As far as much as I said that we don't want to we should focus on them. I'd wish them all the best because kids are dying, women are dying, innocent people are dying, and I'd like this war to end.
Yeah.